Okay, I'm at McCormick Lane. What number is your house?
5.
5 McCormick Lane with Azora Cross. And Azora is going to be going to the North Shore Music Circus on Wednesday where the Grinder Cup meeting is. So I came over here because she said she wanted to be at the meeting, but she would not be able to because she has to go see Dreamgirls. Now, what were you going to say if you were coming to the meeting, Azora?
Well, first of all, I was going to say the town did not do us any favor having us have to have a grinder pump. I was happy with what I had, and everything worked out fine. And then I got this grinder pump, which is, to me, the worst thing the town could have done to me. I feel that my house will not sell at a higher price because of that grinder pump, because I would tell anyone who was going to buy a house that they do have a grinder pump.
Yeah.
And how long the town will continue taking care of it, you'll never know. And you could be stuck again. And I'm at an age right now where I don't want to move. But if I were looking for a house, I would never buy a house with a grinder pump. Too many problems.
Yeah.
For instance, the town does not have any place for you to go if you lose your electricity.
Yeah.
If you lose your electricity, you lose your toilet. You lose everything because you can't run water.
Were you here during Hurricane Irene? That would have been in August of a couple of years, maybe 3 years back.
Yes.
There was 1 year where we had Hurricane Irene and the power was out for a week. And then that same year, in October, we had a snowstorm on Halloween and the power went down for another week.
Right.
But during Irene, the weather was warm.
Yeah.
But there were so many trees down that the power was out for a week.
Right.
What did you do then?
Well, I had no electricity, so I called the town to find out, well, I called the police station, really, to find out where I could go for shelter.
Yeah.
And I was told to go to Lowell High School.
Yeah.
I don't go into Lowell. I've only been into Lowell twice in all the years I've lived here since 1974.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even know how to get there.
Yeah.
And so someone suggested that I call the senior center in Westford.
Yeah.
Which I did.
Yeah.
And they referred me to the sergeant school. I went there. I spent 3.5 days there. And I have to say they treated me wonderful.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people there, and I was very fortunate coming from another town and going there, and I was really grateful for that.
Yeah.
Because our town didn't supply anything.
Yeah.
And I made a lot of friends while I was there, but I belonged to the senior center in Westford as well as Chelmsford.
Yeah.
So I felt at home.
Yeah.
More at home than I do in my own town.
Yeah.
So that's where I spent my time.
Did I tell you about the town's pump down program for grinder pumps?
I just heard about it.
Yeah, because I think I told about it last time I
You
talked to you.
told me on the telephone.
Okay, yeah. And your panel, your grinder pump has a receptacle for a generator. And if the power is out and you need to have your grinder pump pumped down, the town does have a service where they can bring the portable generator here on a truck.
They don't advertise it.
They don't advertise it, I know. I try to advertise it so people like you will know about it. And you might still want to go to the senior center because without electricity you might have some other problems. But in the case when you do want to stay in your house, that is something that you need to know about. And I'll get you the telephone information about that. But the town should publicize that more for people who could use it. How about your grinder pump inspection? How did that go?
Well, my next door neighbor Dottie, had them come, and I noticed it, and I asked her if she made an appointment, and she said yes. And I was talking with another neighbor, and they said they had them coming on a certain day.
Yeah.
So I called and I said, since you're coming for my neighbor, could you also come to my house? And they said they would be there at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Uh-huh.
So I sat here in my kitchen waiting for them to come. I told them I had questions that I wanted to ask. I didn't know if the alarm went off, how would I shut it off?
Right.
So that was important to me.
Right.
So I went ahead and I sat here. I was reading the paper, and come 10 o'clock I thought, gee, they were supposed to be here at 8. So I called my neighbor and she says, oh, they were at your house before they came to my house.
Yeah.
And I said, they never let me know. She says, well, they did put a folder in your door, in your front door, because she could see it.
Yeah.
So I went to the door. Sure enough, there was a folder there.
Yeah.
So I knew they had been there, but I never saw them and couldn't ask them my questions.
They didn't knock on the door?
No.
They didn't ring the bell?
Nope.
You didn't hear them doing anything outside with your
Never
grinder
heard
pump?
a thing, and I was sitting right here in the kitchen where I would hear it.
Yes. I see. Well, I guess they were able to do the inspection outside even though you were inside the house. Now, one thing that they were supposed to inspect is the receptacle, the generator receptacle on the side of the panel. That's one of the things they were supposed to inspect. But they couldn't have done that unless they had you turn off the circuit breakers, because the way that works is if you try to run the pump off the generator, it only works if the power is turned off in the house.
Yeah.
So they couldn't test that unless you were here to help them with that test. So that's one of the tests that I've noticed that hasn't been done at a lot of houses, because they've done a lot of inspections where the people haven't been home.
Yeah.
And there's been a number of inspections like yours where the people have been home, but they didn't know they were doing the inspection. So that is a little bit of a problem. Like at your house, we're not sure if your generator receptacle is working properly. It's probably okay, but it should have been inspected.
Well, then we had this this terrible winter that we've had.
Yeah.
And I have friends that did not want me to be here alone in case we lost our electricity.
Right.
So for 3 or 4 weekends,
Yeah.
I would leave on Friday and come back Monday night.
Yeah.
The last time I did that, I came home around 8 o'clock, and I had left the water running in upstairs and down here in the kitchen.
Right.
And so I was running more water, and all of a sudden I heard this noise,
Yes.
and I didn't know where it was coming from. I checked the whole house, and I went outside, and I heard it. It was the alarm.
Okay.
It was 4 below zero.
Yes.
It was at night, by the time I got my wits together, probably 9 o'clock, I called my next door neighbor and asked if he could help me, because
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do.
Right.
So he came over, and it was the blind leading the blind, because he didn't know anything like I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So we did cut the thing that they had tied on my receptacle out there,
Right.
and he just kept hitting things until the alarm stopped.
Right.
And then I came in and I called the number for the plate. Wesson, is it?
Weston and Sampson.
Yeah. I called, and the man was very nice. He said he would try to get someone to come out and help me that night.
Yeah.
He called me back and said they were all out plowing,
Right.
so he couldn't, but someone would be here at 8 in the morning. And I said that would be fine. He says, don't use any water.
Yeah.
Don't flush. Don't do anything.
Right.
So the next morning, 8 o'clock, right on the dot, 2 trucks came.
Yeah.
And 2 men, they worked on it for 3.5 hours. One thing I have to say, they were happy that I had cleared all around to the grinder pump,
Right.
including the grinder pump, which now I find I shouldn't have had that shoveled.
Right.
But at the time, I had been told before to shovel it.
Right.
So I was only doing what I was told.
I understand.
And they came. They were so pleased they didn't have to do any shoveling.
Right.
That was a big thing for them.
Well, they probably got a lot of other calls where there was 3 feet of snow
Right.
covering the grinder pump.
That's what they told me. And so anyway, they worked on it for 3.5 hours,
Yeah.
and then they came and told me they were going to have to replace the pump,
Yeah.
that it was completely frozen.
Yep.
I know they had me plug in the outlet
Yeah.
for them to use these heat lamps.
Heat lamps. Yeah.
But they didn't work.
Yeah.
So they put in a new one, and everything has been fine since.
No, that's good.
But in back of my mind all the time is,
Yeah.
when is something going to happen? When is that alarm going to go off?
Yeah.
You know, at my age now, I shouldn't have to worry like that.
Yeah.
And it is a constant worry.
Yes.
So, I don't know what else to say.
Okay. No. Thank you very much. I appreciate your input, and I hope you have a nice time at the Dream Girls.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Azora.